Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting into? We are on Married at First Sight Australia series 12. We are now on episode 9 when it comes to the commitment ceremony, and I call it Confessions of the Couch Time. I believe that Jake will be under fire on this Confessions of the Couch Time for his rancid comments, because they were not jokes. So it's like time to see who stays or goes. I have predicted that I believe Jake would write leave because of how he reacted to Ashley letting him know her feelings on the voting ranking comments. I also kind of thought that Ryan and Jackie might go, because what they asked for in a partner they got, but they don't know how to handle each other at all, or even compliment each other sometimes, to be honest with you. Their communication styles with each other are off. Sometimes I don't think they see the wood through the trees, because they're striving, as I said, for this absolute perfection, which they are not going to get. So I believe that Billy and Sierra would be gunning for Jake tonight in regards to the comments that he said. Ashley does regret her vent to Sierra, but it needed to be shared at the end of the day, because those comments were disgusting and disrespectful. So Ashley says that she will have a chat with Jake, but she will be bringing it up on the couch specifically as well, because she believes that Jake is not grasping the severity of what he said, which is true. And it's with this, I think Jake will then decide that he's going to leave, because he won't be able to take the consequences of his own actions. So Ashley tells Jake basically that she did vent to Sierra, and she talks about Jake's filter and the trouble that she felt Jake had in actually recognising the harm that he caused with the words that he used. Jake basically said that he was shocked that Ashley spoke behind his back, and he said he would not have done that to her at the end of the day, and that he felt that she'd broken his trust. But he was saying that more so to producers. He weren't necessarily saying that to the face of Ashley, even though he did say that to the producers, yeah. And as I said, he weren't saying it to Ashley. To Ashley's face, he told her, oh, don't stress about it, don't worry about it. I like the fact that Ashley was straight up enough to tell him to his face, like, this is what happened, this is what I've done, let's talk about this, let's communicate on what should happen next. Because I believe honestly that Ashley wasn't thinking that this would impact on them in the way that, you know, Jake felt it impacting on them, because I believe that Ashley was never going to write leave on that card at the end of the day, because she did want to stay and try and work things out with Jake from that. She literally told him that, you know, she was pissed off and that she vented, and that she didn't try to hide that fact, and she didn't hide the fact that, you know what, she was deeply apologetic to him to not coming to him first, and she recognised her own responsibilities in regards to her own actions with that, and she felt bad and she regretted it. Jake just couldn't be honest in how he felt in that instance, because I'm like, rather than actually seeing how, as he says on the couch, he felt how stressed she was, so he tried to like placate her feelings. That's invalidating what she's talking about at the end of the day, because Jake should have been open and honest in regards to what it is that he felt, so they could have an open conversation and an open dialogue about it too. So I do think Afwina needs to walk away from Adrian. He doesn't take anything that she says seriously, nor does he validate her from what I've seen. That's in my opinion from what I have watched and what I've seen, yeah. I don't know what's happening behind closed doors, okay, because it will depend on what they continue to show us. But from what they are showing us, I have a feeling that this is still continuing there's still continuing to be issues between them. So Jamie and Dave talk about like Katie and Tim, and Tim being noticeably absent from the apartments at the end of the day. I'm a bit honest when I say I don't know why Katie remained, because we all kind of knew that Tim was never going to show his face in the apartments. He didn't want Katie. We all knew that, yeah. So if Tim was to come back, it literally would be for him to try and provide a narrative to make himself not look like the piss poor shallow person that he is. I don't think anything that Tim says could change the situation at hand at the end of the day, because we've all seen it. So Katie wants validation from the expert, and I think part of her wants Tim to be there so she can be heard and see him held to account. That's what I think she wants as well. I mean, that man, I felt, would have the brass balls to turn up right now. Like, it would be all kinds of arrogant on Tim's part at the end of the day, because that's just who that man is. So we see Katie do write on her card leave, and I was quite happy. I was like, yes, at least she's got to this point. So Katie, when she sat down in the room, all the women came in and sat down. She was looking for Tim fully, yeah, and I did feel it for her, because everybody else with their partners came in and their partners sat next to them, gave them a kiss, sat down, hand on lap, stuff like that, and she was there looking for this man. So the door closed up. John, one of the experts, was speaking, yeah, and then the door opened and in walked Tim. I was like, yeah, now this man is taking the piss, like fully taking the piss. I thought, I hope they rip you a good one. Like, seriously, I hope they rip you a new one at the end of the day. The arrogance of this man, and the fact that he came in, he sat down next to Katie, made sure there was a gap between them, and ignored this girl. Didn't even say hello to her or nothing, just completely ignored her. Shows exactly what this man is like. Like, seriously, the man waltzed in. Katie looked proper shell-shocked. She did look shell-shocked that he was coming, and I did think that, from my opinion, I did see like a hint of a little bit of fear behind her eyes. I'm just like, this dude left her for weeks, yeah, on her own, and now he comes and waltzes his ass in like it's a day at the damn races. I thought, who let him in? Who let him in? It should be a case of, if your name's not down, you're not coming in at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? It was an absolute jolting that they let this man in to literally try and gaslight the fuck out of this girl all over again. Like, seriously. So the first couple on the couch was Karina and Paul. So Karina talked about how they'd met at first. She talked about how they'd met. It fizzled, and I thought, no mate, he ghosted you. It didn't fizzle, he ghosted you fully. To the point where at the wedding she wanted a new groom after she'd married Paul at the end of the day, until Paul had the opportunity to explain. She didn't explain this to all of them because we've all seen it, right? So he had to work at that wedding reception and throughout that time to get her, but he did. They do have a great relationship right now. There is nothing to write home about, but these two, to be honest with you, they're getting on with each other. The decision was to stay. So the next couple was Ree and Jeff. They talked as well about them knowing each other before. Ree is a little bit scared to step to the next level in regards to intimacy with Jeff, because she's scared it will fizzle out, because that's what happened previously with them two. They are good together, and I'm glad that they are taking it slow, and their decision was to stay. The next couple was Ashley and Jake. They were already sitting poles apart. They weren't close to each other at all. So actually, Ashley explained like what happened next. Like, after she talked about how easy it was when they got married and she was so happy to marry him. And I'm glad that Ashley spoke her truth and she didn't back down in terms of the photo ranking task, because I think it needed to be brought up in this space for everybody to hear what the fuck was going on, basically. So she says that Jake doesn't say things with malice, but can come across as extremely insensitive. Me, myself, I wouldn't dress it up like that at the end of the day, because what he said had an intent of malice to it, because he also was maliceful and insensitive at the same time, hiding behind the guise of it being a joke. Then it was, he uses joke as a deflection, but his mouth engaged before his brain, rather than accepting responsibility that what he said was downright rude and disgusting. So Jake then speaks up. He starts with the excuses and says his mouth went before he thought. Jake was trying to excuse his behaviour and his actions and not really take full accountability of what he said. He still classed it, as I said, as a joke. And that was when Billy had had enough of listening to the guff that Jake was spouting and jumped right in. He couldn't take the pussyfooting around this subject anymore. So basically he came out with that he was unhappy about what Jake has said in regards to his wife, but the other wives and husbands are still in the freaking dark at this point, because they don't know exactly what Jake had said about Afwina, what Jake had said about Jackie, so they don't know this. So Ashley doesn't even know that Jake doesn't even really like her either. So Billy shared the comment that he'd said about Sierra, And Billy said that he didn't like the disrespect that Jake brought to his wife. And I thought I would be angry too, especially given the fact that Sierra has a lot of insecurities that none of these people know about. Yeah, but she's able to hold herself. Do you know what I mean? So Jake made it worse by trying to double down and gloss over the harm that he caused to concentrate on what it is that he said he meant. Didn't go down very well at all. Billy now shares that what he said about the other wives too, because I'm sorry, Jake can't pretend to be innocent when he says things like that too. So the experts do ask Jake at first directly what else was said. Jake was silent, and more silent than a church mouse, let me put it that way. You could hear a motherfucking pin drop. So Ashley, basically, they went to Ashley and said, Ash, what did he say? So she had no choice now but to stand on that hill fully and let it out. So Ash told them exactly what Jake said. And let me tell you, when I said you could hear a pin drop with all the other wives and the husbands, you could hear a pin drop. When it came to him saying he's not racist, but he's a Caucasian kind of guy in respect of a Fuina, everyone was shocked and appalled. Jake didn't get why everyone was shocked and appalled by that comment. Like, seriously didn't get it. He says he was not being hurtful, but I don't think, but then why say those things? Even in a joking matter, why say those freaking things? Because they are hurtful and disgusting at the end of the day. So the experts told Jake that him saying his mouth went before his brain is an absolute cop-out, and it is. It is, because he had time to think before he said what he said about each of those women in that task. I think this is how Jake goes about his life in any event, saying under the cuff hurtful things and blaming his ignorance of not putting his brain into gear first. I thought, mate, you're a flipping teacher. How does that work? You're a teacher. How does that work? So Ashley did address Jake on what he said. But Jake also completely keeps dismissing Ashley. Yeah, again, Jake takes no responsibility for his actions in the slightest. He hears Ashley, but he doesn't do anything to change it. He did say that he was sorry and heartfeltly sorry, and I do believe that he is sorry. But even if you say sorry, it's about you changing those behaviours from here on out. So the decision was, Ashley wanted Jake to put his best foot forward and she wanted to stay. Jake basically said that it was hard for him to hear Ash spoke behind his back, and thinks that the trust is the biggest thing in the relationship. So he said that after that he can't trust Ashley, and he did say leave. So when Ashley did point out, which I'm glad she did, that after she spoke to Jake and she apologised to him for talking about him behind his back and wanted him to know exactly what was said, he turned to her and replied, it was all good. Do you know what I mean? But now he's saying he wants to leave. And that showed Jake will lie where he needs to. He will invalidate feelings where he needs to, because even in him placating Ashley, no matter how upset she was, he still lied because he wasn't happy about what was said. He felt that his trust was fully broken, and he should have spoke about that with Ashley, but he chose not to. He basically, with that discussion, lulled Ashley into a false sense of security, and he couldn't see where he didn't go wrong. So basically, Jake was saying that he was hurt, but he wanted to make sure that Ashley was okay, and that's why he said what he said, which makes no sense at all at the end of the day, because he was hurt, but he didn't voice that with Ashley to allow them to have that communication, to have that conversation. So they have to stay in for another week at the end of the day, because Ashley wrote stay to work things out on their marriage. But for me, I would say from here, I don't think it's going to work, to be fair, because I think Jake is very much set in his ways. He feels like his trust has been broken with Ashley, and I don't think she can come back from that. So the next couple up was Jamie and Dave. They are so good together. They are so good together. And I hope for the rest of the time that they grow together and that they're able to deal with any ups and any downs consistently and positively. Because I swear to God, at the end of this, it will be so sad not to see them make it. Their decision was to stay. So the next couple was Sierra and Billy. They had good things to say about each other, not much to write home. Their decision was to stay also. Then the next couple was Jackie and Ryan. Jackie and Ryan. Where can I start with these two? Yeah, because they do act like they are a united front. They will touch each other, they'll be affectionate with each other, but then say they're not the right partners for each other. So I don't know how that works or that computes in real life, to be honest with you. So when they're asking how's it going, Ryan's talking about how it's a mixed bag. So Ryan talks about how they had a list of the perfect vision that they both had and knew what they wanted in a partner. So they could not see why they were put together at the end of the day. But in essence, they both wanted the same things. So my thought would be, if that's the case, if you're saying was truthful on your application, then someone somewhere was lying. Like, honestly lying. Because it's the reality versus the fantasy, and it's not meshing for them two at the end of the day. That's why I have to say they have to be careful what they ask for. Because when they get what they ask for, they don't want it, they don't like it. So Ryan calls out the experts of them ignoring pretty much what they had both said. I said, I told you Ryan and Jackie are full of themselves. As they can't make it work, they have to blame someone else rather than looking at themselves directly and more deeply, because that's their toxic way of communicating with each other. Like, they both have different communication styles and it's not working for them. So Ryan and Jackie found it absolutely funny. Yeah, they found this shit hella hilarious. I don't know why. So Ryan's basically, when he was called out by one of the experts and he says, well, what is it that you say that you haven't got? Ryan highlights he wants to cook with someone as he finds it a bonding activity, and Jackie hates cooking. And I thought, mate, is that the reason that you gave? That is the most superficial reason ever. So they asked Jackie what she sees as the difficulties with the relationship with Ryan. Jackie was all laughing until they called out herself. Yeah, because I thought she believed that Ryan would do all the talking. She acted like a deer in the headlights. She turned around and she says Ryan doesn't listen to us. So I was like, okay, so, you know, what do you mean he doesn't listen to you? So she talks about she wanted the temperature up in the bedroom and he preferred the temperature down. These two are absolutely adult children. They're kids, they're children. Like, seriously, even the other couple started laughing at them because it was pathetic. I was like, what? John says to them, okay then, let's get a little bit deeper. So we see Ryan does pipe up, and I swear to God, these two are like a Lauren and Hardy freaking show. Like, seriously, they were so petty, it was a flipping joke. So Ryan's talking about how Jackie starts laughing. Ryan's talking about how he feels in a certain situation, and Jackie starts laughing. I'm telling you, this woman is unhinged. Like, she's absolutely unhinged. She doesn't make any sense at all. And she's the one that says Ryan don't listen to her, and Ryan's talking and she's sitting there laughing at this man. So the experts pull Jackie up on why she's laughing at Ryan when he's talking. This woman literally says she disassociates from Ryan when he talks, and she does it deliberately. Yeah, because she does do it deliberately, saying he doesn't listen when it's her who's not listening now. I just leave at this point for real, because they're both getting on my nerves. So then here comes the CV, as Ryan puts it, out of their relationship. They did confirm when the other couples asked that they do sleep in the same bed together and they are affectionate with one another. And I'm like, these two are liable to give you whiplash, because one minute they're saying they're not getting on and the next minute they're saying that they're affectionate, they do this, and like everything's hunky-dory, and they're intellectuals, they're able to talk about certain things. So Jackie turns around and tries to say it's the really fundamental issue. I'd have to tell you, I was so confused. And I was glad John jumped in and stopped Jackie, because they do not have any fundamental issues at the end of the day. What they have is superficial issues, and that's what they're concentrating on, because they're so stuck on perfection. And they will be forever disappointed as they become bogged down in rubbish, yeah, as I was saying, that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things at the end of the day. So John does tell them that their compatibility is really high. They are able to have intelligent conversations, but they get inside their own heads and miss out on the good stuff and focus on small superficial details. And I thought that's all the truth with these two. The decision was for both of them that they wanted to stay, and I thought they need to just get on with it now and stop being so rotted stupid. So the next couple up was Morena and Tony. With these two, I was kind of hoping that Morena will step back and let Tony have the space to speak, where Tony can actually honestly speak about how it feels when she doesn't allow him a space in which to say what he wants and have her listen to him. I noticed that when they sat on the couch, there was a definitive gap between them. You could drive a bus through them. He was on one corner, she was on the other corner at the end of the day. So Tony's being asked the questions right now, and you can see that Morena wants to say something, and I was looking at the screen like, hold it, girl, hold it until it gets to you. Morena needs to listen to what Tony is saying in that moment. Let him hold some space and let him speak. So Tony did make a little snafu after he was talking about the wedding, and he called Morena Mariana, and he quickly backtracked, and Morena had to correct him. Where Tony, I would say in my opinion, went a little wrong is when he said, but that's what I said. And I was like, no love, you didn't. You called her Mariana. You called her by her different name. We all heard you. They go to Morena, and she says that Tony doesn't like talking. I thought, but Tony does talk. You just choose not to listen to him. You don't give him a chance for him to finish his sentences at all. And you can see that when she does the same thing on the couch, she keeps cutting him off all the time. And this is what he says. This is what happens. Yeah, their communication styles are very, very different. And it's something that they're both going to have to learn to work through, because I think Tony needs to be a little bit more forthright in saying, let me finish what I've got to say first, and then you can jump in afterwards. Do you know what I mean? So their decision was to stay. So the next couple up was Adrian and Afwina. Afwina is all gushing like a girl. She talks about her attraction to Adrian, but there is a fundamental issue with them. Afwina says that she struggles, as Adrian said he didn't want someone with children. And I'm still thinking that this thought process of Adrian's is not going to change. It really isn't. Because he wants, as I said, his first to be with someone else's first. So Afwina is being penalised for having a life outside of him, which includes her beautiful son too. I will say again, Afwina cannot be with a man who will not accept her son and her wholeheartedly at the end of the day. So they decide to do a deep dive on this with Adrian. So they asked Adrian, why is it a concern that Afwina has a child? Straight away, Adrian removes his arm from around her shoulders, and you can see Afwina felt that pull away completely. He talks about how he comes from a family, where all the kids are from the same parents, and he values that. He says he has the factor in like who the man he would be for her son. Adrian knows, as I've already said, knows what to say. I'm sorry, but I would say my opinion, he's full of it. He really is full of it. Because he told Afwina, and he's told her on so many occasions, he didn't know if he could love her child as much as he would be able to love his own children. So that's the concern for me. So he says that he got to know Afwina a bit more now. He broke it down. And he basically asked the experts for someone who is loving. He asked the experts, he said that the highest love is a mother's love, which is what Afwina does. He says he knew that, and he asked for balance, and that's what he's got with Afwina. So he was going through the list of what he asked for and what he got in for Afwina, basically. I was just like, I swear down, this man had a book and research, because ain't no way. Yes, I believe that he does have this connection to Afwina, but I don't believe Adrian is being honestly 100% truthful in the fact that at the end of all of this, he's not going to set this girl in his life due to the fact that she has a child. I really don't believe what he's saying right now. So he said he wants to give 100%, and if he does fall in love, those problems won't be so big. And I thought, that's all said and good, yeah. But when he gets to the end of this, as I've already said, and Afwina becomes more invested and he still isn't able to accept her and her son, what then? What happens then? I think Adrian said enough to play the experts and Afwina, in my opinion, to be honest with you. But his trueness will come out day by day. Afwina is now happy with what he said. They're back on good ground. He put his arm back around her after he said what he needed to say. I don't believe man gave 100%, because he definitely didn't give 100% in commitment week, did he? Their decision was to stay anyway. So then at long last we get to Tim and Katie. And I thought to myself, they better read Tim for the filth that he is, because he needs it, man. He really does. So Katie starts off talking first, and she talks about what Tim did on the wedding night. Then when Katie talked about the fact that Tim did put the onus on her whether he should stay or go, or they go to the honeymoon or not, Tim was sitting there acting like as if to say, no, I didn't. And I thought, she's not lying down, because he did do that. He did. He asked her the next day, and then when even though he saw that she was absolutely distraught, he started reading out the honeymoon card like Katie wasn't breaking down beside him. Katie said it's clear he didn't get what he ordered. He's been running back to Melbourne ever since. And Katie is telling the truth. She's not one lie told. And I thought if Tim lied, I was hoping that they would play the video footage of Tim's full-on tantrum at the wedding because he didn't get what he wanted. So they asked Katie what she meant that Tim didn't get what he ordered. And I'm like, mate, this man wanted a blonde, brunette, short, petite woman, which is not Katie at the end of the day. It was kind of a shame to see Katie slightly put herself down when she turns around and she says, I know I'm not a 10 out of 10. Tim at that point tried to interrupt Katie, and Katie pointed her finger. She didn't look at him. She pointed her finger and said to Tim, I'm talking. I was like, go on, Katie. That man shut his mouth so much because I thought, yeah, you ain't got no power here now, love. You ain't got no power trip here now, love. Yeah? Because it was time that Katie stepped back in her light that Tim had dimmed since the moment she met him. So Katie basically said, I am okay with who I am. I like who I am. And she was right. Tim didn't want to focus on anything good about Katie at all, or get to know her outside of what Tim perceived to be Kate's unattractiveness, when Katie is an absolute gem. So Katie confirmed, like, she moved into the apartment. Tim didn't. I can't even say that Tim can't even make a case, that he says he was trying, because he didn't at all, and his actions showed it. So he had the audacity to rock up to the confessions of the couch. I really wanted to hear what this man really had to say. So they talked to Tim. So Tim talks about how he was panicked, and when he was telling Katie that there was no spark there, and he wanted to see if he could build it as friends. This man didn't even try to be friends with Katie at all. Like, seriously did not try to be friends with her, but we shall go on. He says on the first night of the honeymoon that he tried to get to know Katie, and she was sitting there for an hour reading emails. I just thought to myself, what did he expect at the end of the day? She is going to protect herself. You just literally rejected this woman the day of her freaking wedding and then expected her to be sunshine and motherfucking light when it came to the honeymoon, knowing full well that this man did not like her when she liked him. And John said the same thing, that what Katie did could be seen as a defense mechanism. Because to be fair, he rejected Katie at the end of the day when she was into him at first glance. Tim talks about how he understands in terms of what John was saying, but he truly doesn't understand what John is saying. Because at the end of the day, the fact that you can do what you did, freaking go back to your hometown, have no care about this poor woman and how you've made her feel and impacted upon her, and then walks back into the commitment ceremony like it wasn't a thing, is beyond me. Like, literally beyond me. Because as I said, I thought Tim was there to try and absolve himself of any negativity, but there was no way in how he was going to do that. He should have just stayed away. So this man really said, I came here for love, not to do the work. But as he said not to do the work, he pointed to Katie. It's just it. My last words, because I really don't know what to say about this man. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you marry to, you would have had to put the work in order to make a sustainable relationship and a sustainable marriage anyway. So he makes me angry. He makes my brain itch at the end of the day, because he's not obtuse. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, but he's too busy trying to make himself look like the hard done by one and put all the blame and negativity onto Katie that he doesn't realise how the fuck he is coming off. Like, seriously. So Tim confirms he didn't reach out to Katie, and he said the number one thing he was looking for was someone to be here for him. So I thought, what was you going to do then if someone was to be there for you? Stand there like a spare doorknob, not work at anything in a marriage or the relationship? Or was this just a euphemism for Tim wanting his preference to be there for him? Again, I would say Tim's preference don't prefer him. That's why he's on this show. So Reed did defend Katie, and even the men were looking at Tim as if to say, mate, are you for real right now? Tim had the audacity to say, when you feel like someone is not there for you, that's not the partner I want. I just thought, Tim, you ain't been there for Katie since the day you said I do. And you had the cheek to say that. He should feel hella ashamed of himself. Hella ashamed of himself. So John said to me, like, he came into this Confessions of the Couch for a reason. He came there for a reason. What was it? I just thought to myself, yeah, it was to try and convince people that he is not the bad person that he's made out to be. He's absolutely worse in my opinion, to be honest. So Tim said he came into it because he was hopeful. And John said, of what? What are you hopeful for? This man didn't even look at Katie as he sat down in his seat. This man didn't even come to the apartments after the honeymoon. This man didn't even reach out to Katie in any which way, shape or form. But yet he's saying he's hopeful. As John said, hopeful for what? He said, I don't know. John basically told him that he's confused, that he came here saying he's hopeful, and he listed everything that I've just said, basically. So, again, what are you hopeful for? All I kept on thinking is Tim had better not try to say again, like, I want to start again with Katie, because I would have been, no, sorry, Bobby, I'm out. There's no way you're going to treat me this way another time in your lifetime. Let's just put it that way. This man literally sitting on the couch and continue to try and lay blame at Katie's door. This man was deflecting all over the place. There was no straight answer to the question that John asked him twice. Do you know what I mean? What is he there for? And again, it was like, what do you want, Tim? Like, honestly, what do you want? So John literally told Tim about himself, and because Tim tried to highlight the dinner party. So John turned around and said, let's recap the dinner party, shall we? You sat and you talked at Katie, and that was gaslighting 101. We all saw it. John continued to say to Tim that you deflected and you blamed Katie for everything. And again, he's doing it on the sofa because that's what he was doing. And I'm kind of glad that the experts picked that out. So then they say to Tim, will you either keep gaslighting, keep deflecting, keep blaming, or am I going to do better? I'm sat there like, please don't be convincing this man to come back to this experiment, because Katie has had enough at this point. There's no way in hell that this man really can be allowed back into this, knowing full well that he is a gaslighting arse and be able to enact abuse on Katie. There's no way in hell he can do that, because although we saw what he was doing on camera, what the fuck didn't we see what he was doing off camera? Because he probably was doing a lot worse to that woman, let me put it that way. After all that, Tim continues to keep going with the blame. So they're just like, do you know what? Let's just get to the decision. So they both make the decision to leave, which was the best thing ever to Katie. I don't care what the frick Tim does at all, to be honest with you. And it was nice to see everybody rooting for Katie and not Tim. So that is where that episode ended, and I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, my renegades, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so we know I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because I continue to be on the road to 1K. Peace out.